Project Bluebeam. We're getting to that. Actually,
that's really
yes.
something that is really. I mean, there's a.
Okay, the filmmakers would like us to address that. Yes.
Someone's going to take profit of that.
That's an important.
I'm scared to death. You know.
Okay.
Is that the red flag?
We're going there.
Is that the red flag?
Actually, just so you guys know, one of the what we're talking about here is when I said why now. Part of the question is why now in this juncture, and what is it as part of the possible agenda, what these people have in mind, because they don't do things without sort of a self-serving angle involved, and it may be that they're preparing the groundwork for what will be a false alien invasion scenario.
I speak to this because I've actually been accused of playing a part in this.
Oh, great. Go ahead.
If you Google the phrase false flag alien invasion, you'll obviously, as you're well aware, find a lot of material. Quite a lot of it increasingly being pegged on 2012, which is being linked in, specifically in some instances pegged on the Olympic Games to be held in London and possibly some event supposedly taking place at maybe the closing ceremony. Now, my involvement with this is that in amongst my freelance journalism work, I've done, I guess, about 2 or 3 things which kind of went on the radar with certain people, if you'll excuse the pun. The first was I wrote an op-ed in the New York Times, which went out under the title Unidentified Flying Threats. That went out, I think, on July 29th last year. Very interesting thing for the conspiracy theorists was right underneath, if you're one of these people that looks for juxtaposition of headlines, was an unrelated, or was it, article entitled Can Obama Handle the Offense? So a lot of people read something into that. I also do a lot of work with The Sun, Britain's best-selling national daily newspaper, and I worked on a story which went out on the headline, Shoot Down the UFO. That then got picked up by Fox News, and as some of you may have seen, I was interviewed by Bill Hemmer on that show 2 or 3 months back. So I'm sort of sounding a little bit defensive here, because when you mention things like Blue Beam and false flag alien invasion, because of those media things I've done, I've actually been put in the frame as one of the guilty parties, and I'd like to absolutely assure everyone that I'm not.
You're innocent.
I'm innocent. Can I go back to a question which you asked about half an hour ago, which I didn't get to answer, and I'm going to give you an answer.
Absolutely.
You mentioned Pete Peterson, who I don't know, haven't met. No reason to doubt his bona fides or anything. But my personal answer to the question you asked the panel, will this happen, is no. And I say that for a boring statistical reason, really, but one that can be verified. Out of all the predictions of either A, some sort of landing or undeniable alien intervention, or B, all the predictions of disclosure, out of all the ones that have been made, a grand total of 0 have actually come to pass. So just from a boring statistical point of view, I'm reasonably confident that the deadline, I think, were you saying November? This year?
Well, actually, we were saying end of the year.
I think we'll come and go without incident. Can I pick up on a point also that I think Bob made, and it's something that's been running through a lot of what all of us have been talking about, lack of trust in government. And I'll just throw this out in a wider point of view. Something Robert said, that people of his generation, if this was unpacked to them that they'd been lied to, would just say, yeah, so what? We always thought that was probably true. These things were going on. We never did trust the government. I'm from the UK. Trust in the government in the UK at the moment on just about every issue is at an all-time low. I don't know how many of the British news stories have made the media, but our members of parliament have been making bogus claims for expenses and the most outrageous things that we, the taxpayers, have been paying for. Some of them have resigned, most have not. Just today it was announced on the news possibly 100,000 cases of swine flu just in the last week. according to some statistical analyses, in the UK alone, they've set up, now that's at the high end of the estimate scale, and estimates of deaths are about 100 from that, depends whose figures you listen to. My point is, the other story that came out today was that the helpline, which has now gone live, this is the government helpline on arguably one of the most important issues affecting the British people. The people who are manning the headlines, the helplines, are not medically trained. Some of them were not even interviewed for those jobs. And guess what? It doesn't matter anyway because the website's down. Because too many people are trying to log on and get through. So I think a lot of the discussions, I know I've gone slightly off topic, but actually, probably I haven't. Because I think faith in government and institutions is at an all-time low. So if it does transpire they've lied to us about this, yes, it's a massive lie, but people won't be surprised.
It can't get any worse. Point of pride, by the way, point of pride.
Let me remind you of something. I know that in the UK they don't trust their politicians. We don't trust our politicians. But your politicians caused a scene in 1776, and look what happened. Now that can tell you what politicians screwing things up can do.
Yes, but
Remember
for every
what
revolution...
In 1776, that spirit, Nick, let me tell you, and let me reassert this, that same damn spirit exists in the American people today. And they are as capable in 2009 of doing what they did in 1776.
Yeah, I think that's important.
About it.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to, as a moderator, I want to say here that the youth, okay, there's a youth and age part of this story, because the anger, I'm going to say, is in the people who've been around a long time with the cover-up. The youth have not, okay, at least not in this body. And I want to say that anger is not so much an issue over this particular thing, the cover-up, as it is that in a certain sense the youth will turn on a dime often, will understand, and they're being sold movies out there that older people don't even go to. I go to them, so I know they're out there. I know they've been taught a lot of information, secret information, in the guise of what looks like a childish story. So I have to say that in some ways, it's true what you're saying, Rob. It's not going to blow them away if some president gets up there and says, hello, ET's real. Of course they're real. That's going to be the attitude. I know that would be my attitude, especially if I was that age. And I know that it's going to be true of a lot of kids. But there's another side to this, and this is also valid. And it is that there are Americans preparing, as we speak, for the dissolution of what is in essence the American government. Okay? That the cracks, the ship is leaking and has been leaking for a very long time. That patriots and people that have come from the military are fed up. That there's a huge contingent of that going on, and that this disclosure issue of truths in general, that they've been lying on the money, the financial end of things, the society, the way they've been brought up, the things they're supposed to do with their lives, the way the paradigm, the old paradigm is crumbling. And within the crumbling and the disillusion, the controllers know damn well if you just take one more thing and tip the straw off the camel's back, it's going to be the disclosure issue in terms of ETs. There will be chaos. They're causing chaos. In fact, that's what they want, I would suggest, and you can all address this if you will, but they're not looking for things to go smoothly right now. Actually, they want chaos because they want to eliminate a large number of the population. And the viruses and the chemtrails and what's going on is going to contribute to that. And go ahead.
Yes, something.
Our Director of Homeland Security recently went public on the national media and expressed her view that the returning veterans from Iraq and Afghanistan are not to be trusted because they know how to use guns, and they're coming back and they look around and they're